Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I was going to try to give you guys a little bit of time to sleep in, but everybody's here. So I know it's New Year's Eve. Now, I don't really recognize New Year's Eve. To me, it's just another day of the year. But I guess you could kind of call this a New Year's Eve party if you want. We are going to have some fun today. It's not going to be, gloom and doom. I know there's a lot going on in the world. Planes falling out of the sky, strange fog, all kinds of crazy stuff going on, but we're going to try to make light of some of it and have some fun today back here with Between the Headlines. Now, we don't take the headlines at face value, of course. We try to see the population programming in the headlines, right? Between the headlines. And before we get into the headline show today, I want to share with you guys this. I was sitting, sometimes I get some of the inspirations and ideas popping into my head in the middle of the night, and I have to wake up and write it down. But we were talking about Starlink, and as everybody knows, these satellites basically are in low Earth orbit. And I saw the acronym for low Earth orbit, and I was like, oh, that's LEO, like Leo. And I was like, wait a minute. Low Earth orbit, or LEO, has 3 of the letters of Elon's name in it. LEO, low Earth orbit, is Earth low orbit. Elon. Now, is it an accident that the acronym for low Earth orbit is inside his name? Well, maybe. I'm not going to claim that that's the case, but another word appears in Elon's name and low Earth orbit, and that is L. And we all know that L is the name for God. L. And then I looked, and apparently these Starlink satellites are shaped like backwards letter L's. And I'm hoping you're seeing where I'm going with this, because to me it's obvious. Starlink. Is it the little god in the sky? The L trying to elevate himself above the Most High? Something to think about, isn't there? Something to think about. Here's some images of Starlink, and it literally looks like a backwards L with the actual satellite, and then, of course, the solar panels, right? Weird. Well, let's jump right into today's show. I also have a funny fishing story I'll tell you guys a little bit later in the show. So now we live in a reality. Let's jump right into this. Now we live in a reality where any pop star can take on any identity whenever they want. Halfway through their career, first they're a pop star, then they're a Western, then they're a gangster, and then they can make more and more millions, right? Because they're marketing to a different group of fans. And for some reason, people believe this stuff is sincere, and they think that, oh, she always had, cowboy roots. Now I'm talking about Beyonce. We're going to start calling her. I mean, Beyonce. Now, if you hadn't heard, there was an NFL violation, apparently, for using a certain hand sign. You can see it here. I'm not going to, well, it's basically her forming a gun with her hands. And apparently this is an NFL violation for the players, but not for the people who entertain the players. This is weird. And people are upset about this. Now, understand, this is gaslighting. Okay, let's break all this down. Beyonce infuriates NFL fans with banned hand gesture during halftime performance. Where's the flag? Let's read this, and then I'll tell you guys what I think this is about. And mostly people don't follow this kind of stuff, and I don't either. It's just not something we're into. Nobody wants to see Beyonce perform anymore, at least most of us. But this is weird, right? And isn't it weird too, now that they have halftime shows, during these playoff games? This is weird. I thought that they only had halftime shows during the Super Bowl. How long has that been going on? Unreal. Now, some people have looked at her costume, and you can faintly make out the image of the Baphomet. And we've seen her wear costumes like this before. But it says here, all eyes were on the superstar 43 when she hit the field at NRG Stadium in Houston on Wednesday during a break in the NFL game, where the home team Texans battled the Baltimore Ravens. Shining in a white bodysuit, chaps in a cowboy hat, Beyonce performed several hits from her Cowboy Carter album alongside Post Malone and Shabuzi. But when she made a particular move, viewers at home lost control, lost their cool. While wrapping up her first set, after singing Texas Hold'em, singer was lifted above the field on a platform and made the finger gun gesture with her left hand. At the same time, a banner reading "Bang" was released under the platform. I understand that's meant for all of us, okay? National Football League bans the gun gesture, which resulted in a 15-yard penalty for any offending player. So this is the world we live in now, you guys. Beyonce doing her halftime performance. Now, how long has this been going on, these halftime shows before the Super Bowl even starts? Let me go back into the chat, because I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you guys what I think this is all about. I think this is all aggravation, chaos, magic rituals. This is what this is. They're meant to further divide people along the lines of race, along the lines of morals, social issues, so that we never can get enough synergy amongst ourselves to ever come close to any actionable change against the machine. To put it simply, it's drama. Now, of course, Beyonce is wrong about this. If the players can't do it, and she's supposed to be there to entertain the players, then this was intentional. And they knew it was intentional as part of the script. But her pop followers will defend her to the death. That's the reality we live in. People pick teams and they defend that person to the death, even if they know it's not right. And what's up with this new cowgirl identity? This is just weird. I mean, does anybody see anything wrong with this? Bizarre. Now, how long has this halftime thing been going on before the Super Bowl? Does anybody know the answer to that? Most of you don't watch sports anymore. Now, let's hop on to these other stories here. Now, I often speak about the new world issues from the perspective of America, right? But we all know that the New World Order is the New World Order. It's worldwide. So don't ever think that, oh, just because Casey's talking from the perspective of America, that I only care about America. That's not what's going on. It's just easier to talk that way. But this thing is going on everywhere. Okay. This is what's going on in the UK. The same exact thing, the biometric identity issue, the attack on privacy. It's happening in the UK as well, as UK's Ofcom is enforcing age verification using facial recognition under the Online Safety Act. Now, this is creepy. Look what this facial recognition does. It basically plots out what almost appears to me to be a constellation, a star map on your face. That's what this spiritually says to me. Okay. And think of the implications of that. A star map on your face, mapping your face using stars. This has to have something to do with the artificial intelligence wanting to be like the Most High, right? Because the host of heaven was put up there as a glory to God, right? So now they're putting that on your face, on your identity. The image of God is what we were made in. So our image now is being biometrically tracked so that the beast can be like God, or try to be. Let's read this. The UK's communications regulator, Ofcom, will, in January, come out with requirements that online platforms will have to meet in order to enforce age verification, expected to be highly accurate. Judging by the standards made now by Ofcom's online safety policy, the method will involve some type of facial recognition. The result could be blocking of millions of minors, while this is happening as a consequence of the country's controversial online censorship law, the Online Safety Act. Now, you might think this is a positive thing, to, control minors looking at certain things online. But understand that that's only a segue. They always start with something noble, and then they segue into the rest of the control mechanism. That's what this is all about. Now, let's pop in and get an update on the Trump tracker. The Trump tracker. Now, remember a couple days ago, we covered Bill Gates meeting up with Trump, or talking about meeting up with Trump. It was supposed to happen Friday night, according to this Reuters article. Yet we have no confirmation on whether or not they did meet, because the tweet that Trump sent out was supposed to be a private tweet. So they were about to meet in secret, and we didn't get to know about it. Makes you wonder, right? It makes you wonder if the Lord was the one who leaked the tweet so that we could see the truth. This was just 24 hours after I told you to mark my words that the two would meet. 24 hours later, this secret tweet comes out. Now, we mentioned this on yesterday's show, but I'm going to go in a little bit more detail here. Let's read this article so you can understand what this means. Donald Trump said Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has asked to visit him at the president-elect's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida on Friday night. Now, that, of course, Friday night has come and gone. Did they meet? Well, we don't know. They're not telling us if they met or not. Partway through the Truth Social post on Friday morning, Trump referred to his Mar-a-Lago home, saying, Bill Gates asked to come tonight. We miss you and X. New Year's Eve is going to be amazing. Donald J. Trump. Trump provided no further details. Gates has been critical of Trump in the past, particularly over his first administration's response to COVID-19, but Gates publicly congratulated Trump on the 5th of November election victory and expressed hope that they could work together. So, what a trip, right? Now, of course, all the other tech billionaires have lined up, so this is how we knew that Gates would be next. It's not hard to anticipate these people's moves. It's actually pretty simple now, because we know their agenda now, don't we? It's all about complete dominance and control on all fronts. Your privacy, your medical, they want to control it all. And this is how you can anticipate what they're going to do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, because there's some stuff from the other day that we talked about that's also happening now. Now, of course, there are planes falling out of the sky. Let's get into this next story. And you and I, we all know that sound weapons and other novel weapons can take down planes. We've known this for a decade or so, right? Except the general public doesn't understand that this technology is being used. It's like a big secret. Even when it's Russia, who's supposed to be our enemy, is the one doing it. Or so they say. Now, I don't know if Russia had anything to do with this downed plane in Azerbaijan. But what we do know is that it must have been some kind of silent weapon. Now, by now, you guys have seen the footage of the plane going down. There was someone had the whole thing on camera. And this went on for, it felt like minutes, where this plane was circling around and it was going up in elevation and then diving down and going up and diving down. The weird thing is it seemed to have plenty of time to land, do an emergency landing. There seemed to be a lot of flat ground. It wasn't like it was in the mountains, but the plane ended up finally crashing. Now, how do I know that there was some kind of silent weapon used? Well, there was no fire in the sky. There was no explosion. So it must have been some kind of secret silent weapon. Sound waves, I don't know. Electronic scrambling, I don't know. But why aren't we talking about this? Why is it a big secret? You can't accuse Russia of doing it unless you acknowledge that some kind of silent weapon was used, yet the story talks nothing about a silent weapon. It just says that Russia shot down the plane. Weird. So, what a bizarre story. Now, I wanted to get into some other stuff. technology fossils. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard about this or seen this, but this is now a thing. So this is something I've kind of recently become interested in. This new phenomenon of people finding technology, modern technology, encased in solid rock. Now, of course, we live in the world of artificial intelligence where literally anything can be faked, right? So I'm not going to claim that every single one of these images is real and that I know and I've seen it. But some of the stuff looks very real, doesn't it? Here's one particular picture. This is an old Nokia phone. I don't know what decade these Nokia phones came out. It must have been in the early 2000s. And here you see it encased in solid rock. Now, here's what I do know. Here's my personal belief. Is that when it comes to stuff like this that they allow to go viral, there has to be some truth in it that they're trying to hide within the viral nature of some of this information that leaks out. And so that this seems to be the objective, that they're trying to either trivialize what is real, hyperbolize it, so that when you see it, you won't believe it. So they're basically trying to confuse the true issue. Now, some of these definitely look like they could be fake because some people are actually carving the images of the newer technology inside the stone. So you got to watch out for fakes. But I believe that some of these images are actually real. So if these objects are really being found encased in rock, that would beg the question, wouldn't it? What would that mean for the age of the Earth? Well, maybe it's not as old as we think. In other words, rock is being formed much, much quicker than we've been told. And I truly believe that. You know, I walk around my property and I find rock in various stages of hardness. And typically it will start out with like clay, right? And then there's like these intermediary rocks. And some of those look like they're basically like very light clay or something, right? And I'm like, whoa, like light isn't the weight. Like you pick it up and it's like a rock, but it's like halfway between rock and clay. And then you see even different rocks, but they're all within, you can tell that they're literally probably within several hundred years of each other in their hardness. So maybe rock is formed much, much quicker than we could ever imagine. Now I'm back in the chat. I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. Time for a little bit of comic relief. And of course it's at my expense because I love you guys and I'd rather have you laughing at me than sad all the time or laughing at other people. So I planned a fishing trip a couple days ago because I saw that there were a couple days of good weather that were kind of come up onto the, onto the weather forecast. It was like 50 degrees. So I'm like, okay, that's a good day to go fishing. I'm going to go get me some trout. So I hop in my truck and I'm off. I got my waders on and I take this short drive to one of my favorite spots where I can usually limit out on trout in about an hour if I'm on a mission. Typically it's even quicker. By the time I'm on the water, I can literally limit out in about half an hour to 45 minutes. Now, this time I wanted to take my time because I was really out there just to get some blood flow and some, because in the winter, you know how it is. Weather's crappy and you can find yourself sitting inside a lot. So I was like, I'm going to get out there and pump my legs and, crawl around on these bluffs and stuff and wade around in the water, So I was just kind of taking my time because I caught a couple trout pretty quickly. And I was like, wow, this is too easy. So I'm going to challenge myself. So I wade out into the current and the water's probably just above my knees. And I'm just nailing trout pretty much every fifth cast on this little micro lure that I got for super cheap. But at this point, I have like 3 fish and I didn't want to be greedy and get all 5 fish. So I got my exercise and now it was time for me to go home. And I look over and right before I decide I'm going to go home, some dude is walking down the bank toward the hole that I just left about 100 yards away up the river. So I cruise on back to my truck and the guy had just walked down there Well, for some reason, he was going to follow me back to my truck. Now, his truck was parked in front of mine, and he was only down there for like 20 minutes. And he said, oh, the water was going up. The water's raising. He goes, they weren't supposed to let water out of the dam. So I had to get out of there. I'm like, all right, well, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Here's where the irritation began. You guys, when I go out to fish, I pretty much don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want any drama. I just want to be left alone. I want to be with God. I want to breathe in the air, listen to the water go by. You know, I follow the rules. I'm just out there to get my heart rate up, to get some fresh air, and to feel alive, you know? Except, and here's where the record scratches. We live in a very legal society, don't we? And you get reminded of it when you're engaging in an activity like fishing, where fish that you pay for with your fishing license are highly regulated. These are literally stocked fish. So the guy starts in on me. So I saw you out there with your bucket of fish. Do you know the limits and the rules? And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be out there fishing if I didn't. I was really nice to the guy at first. He goes, you can only keep one rainbow trout over 14 inches and the brown have to be 24 inches. Total fish is 5 fish with no more than one fish over the 14-inch limit. And for any one species, except for the browns, it'd have to be 24 inches. I'm like, bro. And at this point, I'm burnt out already because here I am trying to justify myself to a stranger who's acting a lot like a cop right now. And I'm like, so this is what these cops do. They are undercover. They literally pretend like they're fishermen now. This is the world we live in. They're literally creeping around looking like fishermen to catch you catching a fish that you already paid for, that you've already spent $50 to go try to catch back some of your fishing license money. He's like, did you catch any? And I'm like, yeah, they're all about 12 inches. Whoa, you can't keep those. You can't. There's a minimum size limit. I'm like, bro. I'm like, dude, there's no minimum size limit. Oh, yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. He's like, can I see? Now, at this point, I'm like, is this guy a cop? No, he's not a cop. He's just a citizen. This is what they've done to us. We're telling on each other now. I wouldn't be shocked if the guy took down my license plate and turned me in for catching 3 legal fish. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, here's my fish. Now, this next part of the story, I'm going to change up a little bit so as not to implicate myself. But needless to say, he looks at my 3 12-inch fish, and then he starts popping up and down going, you can't clean those fish on the river. You can't clean them on the river. You can't cut the head off. You can't cut the head off. I'm like, dude, the heads aren't cut off. They're turned back. He's like, you can't do that because then they can't figure out how long the fish was. I'm like, bro. He's like, you better get out of here. Get out of here now. If I'm standing next to you, I'll get a ticket too because I didn't turn you in, because if you don't turn somebody in, I'm like, bro. Calm down. You got to get out of here. Fishing game's been on this bank for... I'm like, wow. So this is what most people have to go through, right? You see the problem now? This is why I get up every single day to do this for us and you guys. This is not the world I want to live in. I don't want to have to worry about calling my lawyer before I go on a fishing trip next time so I can understand the regulations. Now, all my fish were legal, in case there's anybody listening. The head was still on. You know, they were perfectly legal. There is no minimum size regulation for a trout. If you catch a trout 6 inches long, you can still keep it. You just can't have any more than one that's 14 inches or bigger, right? But who came up with this stuff? So somebody has to talk about this to protect us all from this world that we're about to live in, where you're afraid to leave your house in fear of getting some kind of citation. And this is why I do these shows, because the police state is here. If they're doing this for a darn trout, fining, taxing, litigating you to death is what these people do. And it's about control. It's a problem. Anyway, kind of a funny story, but not kind of a funny story, right? I'm like, okay, next fishing trip, I'll have to invite my attorney along with me. Get him a pair of waders. Well, Casey, according to section 3.2.504, you're not limited to, but exceeding the amount of limits of the fish, and we must turn that fish and go. And it's like, are you kidding me? They basically want you to be in so much fear that you're going to break the law without even knowing it, that you're just not going to do anything. All you're going to do is sit and watch TV and wash your dishes. Oh, wait. Oh, you've exceeded the number of water gallons that you've been allowed by the state, federal. It's like, wow. Yeah, this was local. It's a little spot that I go to where I try to get away from all this, and it comes right back to you. Now, yeah, take your Ritalin, Casey, right? It's unbelievable. So now this isn't going to stop me from fishing, but it's just crazy. Now, let's get back into some of these headlines. Some of you aren't into fishing, I understand. What is happening here? Now, what else is going on? So, Trump's going to save the world, right? This is what the majority of Americans believe right now. They'll be in for a rude awakening. They'll see. But for now, Trump is going to save America by drastically reducing the burden of illegal immigrants on the system, right? It's all coming. He's going to deport nearly all of them. He's promising to lighten up on fossil fuels by creating more of it than we've ever had before to keep prices super low. Except there's a problem. Liberal states. And all these issues that Trump's talking about, apparently liberal states have more power than the federal government to block Trump. So hopefully you're not in a liberal state, because this is going to get really weird. Many states are already promising to stop Trump dead in his tracks when it comes to any kind of border enforcement, deportations, or any kind of fossil fuel boom. In fact, look at what New York is doing. Governor of New York signs a bill that will charge oil and gas firms $75 billion. And guess who's going to pay for that? If you live in New York, well, your gas prices are going to go way through the ceiling. It doesn't matter if you voted for Trump or not. This is what's coming. Look at this woman. Can you believe this? Wow. So, I hope you don't live in New York, because this is going to really suck for you. Now, look how emboldened some of these companies are. Costco, standing its ground when it comes to diversity hires. How are they able to do this? Well, they're only able to do this because they have the monopoly on warehouse stores. Everybody wants to be a Costco member, right? Even though Costco isn't so much of a deal anymore the way it used to be, but people are still convinced that it is. Costco is pushing back hard against the anti-DEI movement. They're not going to cave in, right? Now, believe me, if there was a competitor named, let's call it Bosco. Let's say Bosco is the competitor. They wouldn't be acting so tough, would they? Because everybody would be like, I'm not shopping at Costco anymore. I'm going to Bosco. Costco is battling an anti-DEI wave with a stern rebuke to activist shareholders looking to end the warehouse retailer's diversity ambitions. Walmart, John Deere, Tractor Supply, and other companies are changing or walking away from diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Look, as a person of color, I understand why this is bad. Because it's reverse racism. If you elevate someone above other people, you're not solving the problem. You're just creating more animosity. You're never solving the color, any of these problems by over-representing a certain group. Okay. You make a fair playing field and you tell everybody, look, this is all going to balance out over time. And sorry for the past where maybe it was the pendulum had swung the other way, but we can't give people special treatment. Let's just make it all fair, and then it'll all balance out over time. And sorry that it happened in the past. That's what needs to happen. I mean, you guys, this is common sense. What is going on? Look at Costco's stock through the roof. Well, we'll see how long that lasts. Now, let's get into some of this other stuff here. Brain rot. This is a thing now. They're now saying that people are just throwing in the towel. Now, I've seen this firsthand in the younger generation. Many of you have young teens or millennial children, and they're just throwing in the towel. They're just done. Because the more you make, the more they take. The more debt you go into that you can never pay off. Now, I don't recommend brain rot. I don't think this is a good use of, your life, right? You can't just give up. You've got to do something. But I remember before, I was under the impression that, you got to do a career that makes you money. That's just the way I used to think, right? And I really wasn't supportive of people who did what they loved, even though they were poor. I wasn't supportive of that in my early life. But now I'm starting to understand how important this is. Now, the question is, why is this happening? Why are people just giving up? Well, it's been done by design. They've made life so hard. I hear all these stories. People tell me, oh, I worked washing dishes for a while and then I moved up. I made my life better, right? This is what people say. Well, when you say that, you're essentially saying that the dishwashing job was, like less than. And that's not how we should be thinking. Every job has dignity. And we're supposed to live in the greatest country in the world. So why don't we have a floor? Why don't we have a minimum, labor is worth something. And it's people's labor at the lower levels that make the rich people rich. Yet they have failed to take care of those people. Okay. If we're in the greatest country in the world, there should be a floor, a minimum level. And I'm not talking about a minimum wage. I'm talking about the structure of the economy to where you can afford to have at least a basic lifestyle. Now, of course, these people are bragging down here in the comments. They're like, you must be a liberal. I'm like, no, I'm not a liberal. I'm a conservative. But I understand that the working class are being taken advantage of, and they have for a very long time. Okay. We all know that they are going to replace us with machines. It's already happening. It's already happening. And they've basically created an economic system where people just give up. Who wants to go slave away at a job for 50 hours a week while you're watching someone else get richer off your labor, and none of that is spilling down into your pocket, right? And then you give 95% of your earnings back to a landlord in overpriced rent. You're buying overpriced groceries and driving a beat up car and have no disposable income to do anything except get up and go to work the next day. Does that sound like America to you? So this is the comment I left. And this is what our children are starting to wake up to. They're like, why am I going to do that? They look at their parents, Yeah, there are some success stories. But all these children are looking at their parents beating their head against a wall over and over and over again for decades and decades and never getting anywhere. Not because of lack of effort. They get up and they try and they wait for that promotion. But it seems as though only a select few can get through. And it's not about how hard you work or how good you are, typically. And what about, why can't we take into account the fact that maybe not all people are capable of a college degree or capable of, it's the same thing with the argument for education. Not all people are built to be a student. So why is the student what we're, challenging people to be? Not everybody can be a student. Not everybody can, become a pilot, right? So all work is good work. Okay. That's the point I'm trying to get to. And the example that we have is Jesus Christ. Was Jesus' ministry like this? Hey, disciples. Okay. I'm pretending to be Jesus now. Hey, disciples. Okay, we get this gospel. We're spreading the gospel. But, also, you got to be successful. You got to be successful. We need you to go to college. We need you to become very smart. We need you to run your own business while we're doing the gospel. And that's not enough. Once you get, become a millionaire, now I want you to become a billionaire. And that's the only way we're going to spread the gospel is for you to become a billionaire. And I want you to go all across the world. And, was that the gospel? No, it wasn't. In fact, they were poor. They gave up all that stuff. And until I illustrate it for you like that, you'll never understand. If you're a Christian, you'll get it now that I'm explaining it to you. Now, some people can say, oh, Casey, they had a special commission. Yeah, I get that. But aren't they the example we're supposed to be striving for? Aren't we supposed to be the opposite of what they're saying to do, of what our reality and our economy is saying to do? It's literally the opposite. Jesus didn't go, oh, now I'm a carpenter, now I'm going to build this. I'm going to build a church. I'm going to build a church. And then after that, I'm going to build 10 churches. And then I'm going to build 100 churches. Then I'm going to build a bigger and better church. Is that what Jesus did or said? No. I'm trying to give you examples of the truth of our reality and how it's diametrically opposed to the Christian belief system, if you really think about it. Now, let's check in with Palantir. Now, but at this point, you guys probably think that this is unbelievable. Wait. Oh, wait, that's brain rot. We'll get back to this prepper story in a minute here. But let's check in with Palantir. Man, Casey's nailing it. First, we predicted copper. Copper doubled in price. Then we predicted, what do you call it? The other stuff that she's lithium. And we predicted lithium. Lithium doubled in price. Now Palantir. Palantir is up 400%. 400. Now, I don't recommend betting on the things we talk about on this channel because you're basically betting on the devil, right? But here they are, just like we said. So now we're 3 for 3, and it wasn't us predicting it. It's Holy Spirit leading us into what we already know is the trends of the control mechanism, the all-seeing eye, Skynet, Starlink. We all know what they want to do. Electric cars are not going anywhere. Drones, the rise of the machines, this is all Palantir. They are up 400%. You guys, this is insanity. It's not actually that hard to predict what these people are going to do if you're outside the right-left paradigm. Now here is, let's go to the 6 month. This is the 6 month. Now, literally 6 months ago, I was telling you guys, I was like, you guys, Trump hired Vance as the VP. Vance got $15 million from Peter Thiel, who hired him to work on Palantir. Drones are coming. Remember this? 6 months ago, here's the 6 month stock portfolio. They were down at $25 a share. Now, again, don't bet on the devil. Never, ever do that. But let's say you were some person that maybe isn't a Christian or doesn't understand or believe what we're doing, but you believe this one thing. Your $20 million would have turned into $80 million. How did I know Palantir was going to rise? Because we knew. And since then, Palantir is part of, in other parts of Trump's cabinet already. And this is going to be what our life will be like when he becomes president. I expect this stock even to go even higher. But wow, unreal. Now, notice how it doesn't matter who's the president, liberal, Republican, it doesn't matter. The silent agenda is marching forward. These are the essential tools for the New World Order control mechanism. The essential tools are technology. The essential tools are drones. The essential tools our control and everything else. Palantir's crystal ball. Wow. Now, let's go back to this prepper story. Trouble in prepper paradise. Bunker residents raise financial safety concerns. Now, this is in Idaho. I didn't know this was going on. Apparently, these people are building bunkers. Wow. The story is reported by the South Dakota News Watch, nonprofit news organization. Igloo, South Dakota, former military munitions site with concrete bunkers, now used as residences, have become the source of numerous lawsuits. From the South Dakota Attorney General's office, a near fatal shooting, and now an FBI inquiry. The former Black Hills Army Depot munitions storage facility was developed in 2016 into the Vivos X Point Bunker Complex. Wow. So it's like a subdivision underground. Residential community marketed largely to so-called preppers. Can you imagine how much this stuff costs? More than 500 above-ground concrete bunkers are marketed for lease to those who are worried about a potential national or global disaster and want to live mostly off the grid in a remote area 8 miles south of Edgemont in southwestern South Dakota. Now, there is no escape from all this, right? There's no escape, no bunker. This is why the Bible says, they will pray for the rocks to fall down on top of them. That's because they're probably underground to begin with, okay? I'm not out here to escape anything. I'm out here to be outside of the beast system and stop supporting the beast system with my money and being a slave to their slave system, right? And the whole voting thing and, materialism. That's why I'm out here, to get away from all of that. Not because I think I'm going to hide, okay? It's not what this is about, or run. It's to be outside of the populated areas when things start to go bad. You're not going to become a victim or be around a bunch of crazy people who are going to want your stuff, right? And it's not to say any place is bulletproof, but you don't want to be in a compromised position when the end times happen, right? Now, let's take a look here. Now, let's pop into some of this other stuff. What's going on in the chat over here? Okay, I'm back over here. What's going on? What's going on, Rebecca? Someone's message is being deleted. Rocks fall, as the Bible says. Yes. Now, think of the scenario of, why somebody would beg for the rocks to fall down on top of them. Well, at that point, you're down in your bunker and you realize you made a bunch of mistakes. You realize, or you're one of the evil people who built a bunker. Who was it? The Facebook dude built a bunker. And everyone's like, dude, you're building a bunker. That's weird. Oh, thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for taking care of that. And people are upset about it. They're like, well, you can afford a bunker. And what do you know that we don't know? And he's, of course, Zuckerberg's trying to downplay all this. But we all know what's going on, you guys. We all know what's going on. Now, if you are like me, you guys believe and understand that the supernatural is happening all around us all the time. It's just very few people can see it. Look at this story, for instance, about the 2024 Paris Olympics. Remember when we exposed the Olympic medals? We saw the measurements of the medal and, of course, the hexagon cube, and we decoded it, remember? Well, just as the Bible says, rust is destroying these precious metals. The Bible says, do not store up for yourself gold and silver where moths and rust destroy. I don't know if I'm quoting that correctly, but this is what it appeared. Remember this image of the logo? Looked like, I think it was a flame or the head of a child. And we decoded all that. Well, look at what's happening to these metals, and these people don't even know what to do. Now, if I were them, I would throw this thing in the garbage. After all the stuff we decoded on the Olympics, it was so steeped in the occult, it wasn't even funny. And look what's happening to their metals. Just deteriorating. And this really is a sign of the times, isn't it? And it's a clear explanation as to what the Bible really meant by that. And that is, this kingdom is going away. It doesn't matter what you accumulate in this kingdom, it's all going away. So why accumulate it in this life? Makes no sense. Now, I want to close the show today with a little Q&A. I'm hearing chatter of some strange fog that some of you are reporting. And I did a quick search before the show, but I couldn't find a whole lot on this strange fog. I'm hearing things. What are you guys hearing? Because I'm hearing things like a strange odor. Some people are claiming to get sick. I also heard that it was a worldwide fog. Now, I do know there's a couple fishing channels I follow, and they were saying that there was fog in Florida, and they said they had not seen fog like that in Florida for 50 years. So why is there fog in Florida? Some people are saying it smells like chemicals that sticks, a dry fog. People are getting sick from the fog. Interestingly, there's nothing in the mainstream media about this fog. It's only in the alternative media. So we'll have to see. Oh, wow. Thanks, Sovereign Dirt, for the huge super chat. Really appreciate that. Wow. Supernatural all the time. Yeah, it's happening all around us, isn't it? All the time. Now, we see it. You guys come to this channel and you see the supernatural nature, things we talk about that then happen a few days later or a week later, or some of these supernatural finds in some of this predictive programming, like the one we did yesterday on the film Oblivion, where drone 166 was Trump 166. He was born on the 166th day of the year in leap years, which are presidential years. So those are supernatural, manifestations, aren't they? In case you do follow Minifish, I don't really follow any truth channels, but in general, I've heard good things about Minifish. I do know he started talking about, this, how they're turning us into basically electronic nodes, essentially. They're turning us into hardwired beings through what's being put in the food and stuff. And I would not argue with that. I think that that's probably happening. So, all right. What else is going on, you guys? Yes, Leo is also law enforcement officer and low Earth orbit. Good one, Jackie. So it's enforcement, isn't it? Leo. There may be some deeper spiritual meanings to that. Okay. We know that Leo means lion. And our king is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. But if you were to replace the king with something dark, you would also call it Leo, wouldn't you? Leo the protector, except it's about control instead of protection. So that was a good one. All right. Maybe the fog takes out the birds and blamed on the flu. Now they're trying to scare us again going into this flu season. They're saying, oh, it's all ramped up. It's ramped up. There's more upper respiratory infections than ever before. And they're starting to name states. I don't know, you guys. I guess we'll have to see. We've been talking about another pandemic 2.0. I do know they have a warp speed 2.0. So maybe they're preparing for something. I don't know. I can tell you this. Bill Gates met with Trump back in 2017, right after he had become president the first time. And what did Bill Gates talk to Trump about? He talked about storing vaccines in sub-zero temperatures. He was partnering with a company. You can look all this up. It's all public knowledge. This was 2 years before the pandemic. You can decide for yourself if there was a connection. But he met with Trump at Trump Tower. There's video of Bill Gates walking out of Trump Tower in 2017. And what did they talk about? They talked about a particular barrel-like structure that could store vaccines at sub-zero temperatures. Is there a connection? Well, Most of us are awake here, but how many other people will understand the connection? And so here we are again, Bill Gates meeting with Trump. So I guess we'll have to see what happens, you guys. All right. Oh, I think the chat stopped. I wonder what's going on. Chat stopped. You guys still there? All right. Will photo the fog in the future? Feels like we just started 2024. Now we're at 2025. I know, right? Where did 2024 go? Bizarre. Time feels like it's speeding up, doesn't it? All right. Where did chat go? There it is. Cheers. All right. Oh, now it's going super fast. All right. Transparent umbrella. It's everywhere, and it's causing a lot of issues in people. So that's the fog you're talking about. Living in a Stephen King movie, The Fog. Now, what about upcoming shows? Well, apparently the TV series Evil is about to start its next season. Definitely be looking at that. A lot of disclosure in that TV series. Lots and lots. So we'll be taking a look at that. What is Evil about? Well, it's about this team of investigators that work for the Catholic Church, and they investigate claims of sainthood and super paranormal claims. And so this team of investigators has to go out. Now, they give the illusion that the team is a balanced team of critics and believers. One of the people on the team is, of course, a Catholic priest. The other is like a psychologist, and she's more like atheistic and doesn't believe. And then there's a technician who's kind of like neutral. Like he believes in certain things, but he doesn't believe in others. And he's the guy that tries to measure the paranormal activity. And it's actually a really good series, but the disclosure is heavy. It is, wow. It is insane. So I'll try to screen Evil. And I'm also watching, what is it called? Wayward Pines. Now, I had decoded that years and years ago, but I was shocked, you guys. Wayward Pines. The first couple episodes, literally, they're trapped in a town with a giant electric fence, a wall around it. They're marked with a chip. And I'm like, wow, when are the drones going to come out next? So I'm watching Wayward Pines, which I think went like 2 or 3 seasons. And we'll see if any drones appear. But essentially, yeah, this is our reality. Everyone's brain gets wiped. Makes you wonder if that's happening. So I can tell you, people are already getting time-nesia. They're starting to forget things that used to be basic knowledge. They're starting to forget 9/11. They're starting to forget what we went through in the pandemic. Like you talk to people and it's like they don't even remember. They don't understand. They don't get that healthy people aren't supposed to just get blood clots and tumors and aggressive cancers. They don't understand that's not normal. And so, yeah, people are starting to forget. They're getting amnesia. This is why we have to keep talking about it. They look around them and, we did a poll once. It was shocking. Like 90% of you guys know someone who had a stroke, who was healthy, had a brain clot or something. You like literally know someone. And we did the poll here. It was like 90%. I think there are probably 500 or 600 people watching at that point. And if you were to extrapolate that out to the rest of, the public, without giving them any clues about what you're asking about, just ask, hey, look around you. Do you know someone in the last, year who was healthy, who got a blood clot or facial paralysis or any one of these other symptoms? And literally 90% of the people would say yes. And if you were to take that same poll 5 years ago or longer, it would be a much different poll, wouldn't it? It's insane, you guys. It's literally insane. And people are just going on through life, no big deal, to the point where they reelected the very person who made the it because they're lost in the paradigm. They're so afraid that Kamala was going to win. So, strange times, you guys. Kent State, Ohio, 4 students died at a protest, killed by a National Guard. Never forget. There you go. Much love to you, Matthew 9:21. 2 of my neighbors have heart issues, says Erica. Hyundai got 100K powertrain. Many are convinced Trump is a savior. Thank you, Regalonda. Appreciate you too. Oh, she's talking to Sovereign Dirt. Dozen people have died over the past few years, very young, says Chondo. Now, unfortunately, Google has reconfigured their search engine. You used to be able to search and like blogs would pop up, right? Remember that? Remember those days? Blogs would pop up. Those were independent people with not a lot of money who could tell their story on a blog, and you would get search results and you would know the trends, the real trends out there of regular people like you and me. Well, that's not so easy to find anymore. You type some of this stuff in, you don't get search results on Facebook. You don't get Facebook search results. You don't get blogs anymore. They're hiding what's really happening. The only way you're going to hear it is when you come, and this is why relevance is important. And I know that some of you don't understand the importance of this, but how much more powerful is it when we do a poll? And let's say there were 5,000 people watching the show and we do a poll. See how much more powerful that is? Then people can't accuse us of, oh, that's just people that support you. You're in an echo chamber. You see the problem? Relevance is important because when you ask tough questions and you get a wide cross-section of people chiming in, that means that's powerful. And it can create change. And the enemy knows this. And this is why they reduce the relevance of certain people, because they don't want people to understand what's really happening. You see? So, all right, you guys, I guess I want to pop off here. I'll put links in the pinned comment. Hope you guys enjoyed our little New Year's Eve show. Again, I don't really celebrate New Year's Eve, but, it is the day before the new year. So have a great rest of your day, you guys. And I'll probably see you in a couple days. I'll give you guys some time to recover or spend time with family and all that stuff. And I'll see you in a couple days. Much love. Oh, tomorrow I'll probably re-upload, or day after tomorrow, our Janice video that we did from 2020. We were showing Trump as Janice. It's a really good one. Since then, a lot of people have realized that Trump is Janice. And so that's a good video to re-upload from 4 years ago. So have a great rest of your day, you guys. Much love.